Life is full of choices. Should you order the medium soft drink, or the large? Is the petite 10-ounce filet ample, or is the 24-ounce dry-aged porterhouse the better bet? Should your home have 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms? And is a 43-inch TV sufficient, or does your living room need a bit more? In America, size matters, and for most buyers, bigger is always better. But that's not always the case. While opting for a larger portion of food promises to be more satisfying, it's also more fattening. So plan an extra 30 minutes of exercise to burn off the extra satisfaction. A larger house gives you more space, but it also means more rooms to keep clean. A larger TV, meanwhile, is always better unless, of course, you're blind or want to live a life of penance. Most choices, though, are not so clear-cut, and that includes choosing a new crossover. Let's say you're considering one from Nissan. There's the compact but almost mid-size Rogue with an optional third row, starting at $25,380. Then there's the slightly smaller but truly compact Rogue Sport, with merely 2 rows and a starting price of $22,380. So what does an extra $3,000 buy you? Certainly not unique looks. The Rogue Sport looks just like a Rogue, albeit one that's been left in the dryer too long. And while there are differences in minor items, such as the Rogue's larger, deeper grille and distinct front fascia details, most people will be hard-pressed to tell the difference unless viewing the two next to each other. But there are other differences, with a Rogue Sport wearing a cleaner, sportier wardrobe than the larger Rogue. Side sculpting is significantly sportier, yet the overall look remains sophisticated and upscale. The Rogue is about a foot longer and rests atop a wheelbase that's 2.3 inches longer and 3.8 inches taller than its smaller sibling. This does pay some dividends inside, with a Rogue having an extra 2 inches of front seat headroom, 4.5 inches of rear seat legroom, 5.2 inches of rear seat hip room and 9 cubic feet of cargo space. Other measurements are within tenths of an inch of the other. Both interiors have a similar feel, with a Rogue Sport having a slightly down-market feel from its larger sibling, but not significantly so, although you can't get an auto-dimming rear-view mirror on the Rogue Sport, even on top trim. Meanwhile, if you think some of the Rogue's essential switches are missing, look where you would never think to, on the bottom left of the instrument panel. With added size comes an extra 214 pounds. So while the Rogue Sport has a 2-liter, 4-cylinder engine that produces 141 horsepower and 147 pound-feet or torque, the Rogue gets a larger 2.5-liter with 170 horsepower and 175 pound-feet or torque. Both made to a continuously variable automatic transmission. Choice of ambience. The Rogue is faster than its smaller stablemate, but the Rogue Sport still possesses ample acceleration, although it's still held back a bit by the transmission. The cure is to opt for Sport mode, where behavior is more responsive. Also, the smaller engine gets vocal when revved, befitting its status as the sportiest of the pair. Both models are fairly quiet except for some moderate road noise and boast composed suspensions without undue ride motions. Body lean comes on as expected, but it's not outrageous. That said, the Rogue Sport certainly feels sporting but not sporty, while the Rogue is more mainstream, with a slightly softer ride and an ambience and specs more fit for families and empty nesters. Fuel economy between the two differs by 1 mpg, with the edge going to the larger Rogue. And both can be fitted with the same safety features, including intelligent cruise control, forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, lane departure prevention, blind spot warning and rear cross traffic alert. Give them a try. Which one is right for you? It depends on the size you require and the personality you prefer. But life is like that. And don't bother arguing about it with your spouse while dining over that porterhouse or while watching your favorite program on the 65-inch TV. Test drive both. You might be surprised by your choice.
The following is an open letter to Renault-Nissan Alliance Chairman and CEO, Renault Chairman and CEO, and Nissan Chairman Carlos Ghosn and to Nissan CEO Hiroto Saikawa. Dear Mr. Carlos Ghosn and Mr. Hiroto Saikawa, we would like to thank you for your leadership in the electric vehicle (EV) market. However, we would also like to ask you to take an important next step that would make Nissan's electric vehicles tremendously more appealing and useful for millions of buyers. This open letter is about the missing link between the current state of EV life and your bold vision for the electric future of the Renault-Nissan Alliance. Shortly before the launch of the Zoe, you, Mr. Ghosn, made two comments at a Stanford lecture that very accurately describe the backdrop. First, you said that in Europe, 80% of cars drove fewer than 40 kilometers per day and 20% of cars never left the city they were bought in. These two data points make a compelling case for the Zoe as a daily driver for many Europeans. Second, you talked about the emotions cars evoke and, more than that, how our vehicles represent freedom in our lives. A car is our private getaway, a friend with whom we spend hours each day, and a partner for road trip vacations. But that freedom is diminished with many electric vehicles on the market today, including the Zoe and the Leaf. And this brings us to the reason for this letter. The new Leaf looks to have everything a great EV needs: great battery capacity, a great price, great looks, and even forward-leaning autonomous vehicle technology in the ProPilot suite. But it needs more to really succeed, to be not just a competitor to the Chevy Bolt, but to sell in numbers comparable to the Tesla Model 3 or the Volkswagen Golf. As the top decision makers at Nissan and Renault, making the Leaf a best-selling, widely desired, truly mass-market car is at your fingertips. Similarly, the Zoe is currently the top-selling electric car in Europe by a wide margin, but we believe its sales could grow substantially from one additional feature. The only necessary ingredient that is lacking for these cars is a charging network that unleashes the potential to conveniently drive across many hundreds or even thousands of miles, not just around town. Whether it's through the Great Plains states and Rocky Mountains of the United States, motoring from Norway to Spain, driving along the Gold Coast, or making the trek from southeastern China to northeastern China, the freedom and fun of road trips has global appeal. A Dutch colleague uses his car for fewer than 3,000 miles per year, as his commute is not even 6 miles per day. Despite what seems like a lucrative case for an EV, the Zoe was not an option for him because he has family 1,500 miles away that he visits once or twice a year. He has been taking these trips by plane, but he now wants a car that he can make that drive in. It is effectively impossible in a Zoe today. Generally speaking, his is a very common requirement. The siren song of the road tugs on our innate desire to explore and to be free. To unlock this freedom for EV buyers, a robustly deployed high-speed charging network is a necessity. As you know, one company has built such a network, Tesla. As you also know, Tesla is open to accepting partners into the supercharging network. This letter and those signing it urge you to join Tesla with the Renault-Nissan ZE Alliance in order to benefit from and help to further build out the supercharging network, to open it to all future Leaf and Zoe drivers, as well as drivers of other Renault-Nissan electric vehicles. Doing so will speed the adoption of Renault and Nissan electric vehicles, perhaps exponentially, by putting in place that last puzzle piece to make them highly functional for buyers. We understand that it is difficult for industry giants to concede that a small startup has created a critical component of the EV revolution. We understand that there is a certain humility necessary to initiate a partnership with Tesla on this topic. However, other solutions appear to be too slow and too inconveniently dispersed to satisfy many EV buyers in the next 3 to 5 years, just as the market is exploding onto a steep on-ramp. We believe this will be one of the auto industry's most dramatic S-curves, and we would love for Renault and Nissan to remain on the leading edge of that curve. The Renault-Nissan ZE Alliance is uniquely positioned to lead, thanks in part to its deep expertise in electric vehicles and battery technology, and also thanks to its ability to quickly scale up EV production and demand in order to guide humanity into a safer, more stable, more livable future. The technology of the coming decades is here now, and now is the time for strong and courageous action. Sincerely.